Uh, okay. Uh, is it live?
the social justice system, special snowflake offenses are considered especially heinous. On the internet, dedicated skeptics who investigate these vicious crimes are members of an elite squad known as the Special Snowflake Unit. These are their stories.
Welcome back, Wolfpack. Dire Wolf here for another weekly news recap. From behind enemy lines on YouTube, where speech is not free and the truth is demonetized. Alongside me is my co-host, Director Arcater. How you doing, buddy?
Greetings. And so far, so good.
And also we have with us today our guests, David from David and Lily.
Hello.
He has a store. He sells and makes comic books and lots of other things alongside that, and the store is linked below. And also we have our guest, RGE. How you doing, buddy? And he's dead. Hopefully he'll return soon.
It's in our thoughts and prayers.
All right. Speaking of thoughts and prayers, thank you for all our sponsors who make this show possible. Ori Main, Nathan, Cameron, Tetris Freak, Slowpoke Garcia, Mr. Foxlot, Timberwolf, Golem, Lone Fury, Pablo Gomez, Strong Arm, Hellraiser, Zaylon, Kalet, and Daychrist. Thank you all for donating, and everyone else who has donated to our channel to help make things happen. Also, if you can't donate to us financially, we just appreciate you guys watching and sharing the content, because platforms like YouTube are definitely not sharing our content, so it kind of comes down to word of mouth from you guys, so we appreciate that. We are doing a raffle today. We are doing Dreamkeepers Comics, digital versions of their comic books, as well as we have one other thing that we're raffling off, and for every $2 you get a entry into the raffle for this item here, which is a 3D stereoscopic chest comfort mouse pad. So we're gonna raffle off 2 of these. Every $2 is a entry into this raffle, and we will not be raffling it off until we get to let's say $80. So it's gonna be probably a few shows. In any case, our first RGE, are you there?
Yeah, can you guys hear me now?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool. Yeah, I actually just had to leave and rejoin the call. I was trying to talk earlier, and apparently no one wasn't coming through. Typical.
All right. Well, we're glad to have you on the show with us. So before we get to our first story, I wanted to talk about something that isn't in the show prep notes. There is currently, as of today, there was a shooting down in Texas, in El Paso. We don't know a lot, so we're not going to give our hot take necessarily. I just want to go over what we do know. I don't want to be someone who makes a bunch of political assertions without any evidence. Oh, hey, thank you, Slowpoke Garcia, for your donation of $2. For some reason, what it says didn't pop up on my Streamlabs. I'll check into it later. What we do know is that shooting took place at a Walmart in El Paso, and that there was at least 23 people injured, some of which are dead. Multiple people have been reported dead, and the guy who was doing the shooting is known. They know his name, they know his age, and he has been arrested by the police. Of course, there's lots of people coming out and trying to make a political victory, calling for gun control, or saying, yada yada this, yada yada that. We're not going to make at least Direwolf Media is not going to make an opinion until we actually know the facts.
My opinion is it was bad.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Other than it was terrible, no matter who did it and for what reason, it's always terrible. Anyways, any thoughts on that before we move on to our first story?
Not as such. Well, I know that it's quite the toll thus far, and not unlikely to get better overall.
Still going up. So, pretty bad. Our first story is along the same vein, actually, unfortunately. So, the garlic festival shooting happened also this last week. At 10:40 p.m. last Sunday, a gunman dressed in tactical gear, sunglasses, and a ball cap opened fire at the Gilroy Garlic Festival in Gilroy, California. A viral video was available of the attack directly after it happened, as survivors posted on social media. In these videos, one unidentified attendee is heard asking the shooter, "Why are you doing this?" To which he responded, "Because I'm very angry." This is the biggest clue to the mystery that this shooter has left with us about his motives. The gunman was able to circumvent the festival security by entering from a creek area and cutting through a fence.
There are a lot of possible pieces of evidence to explain his motive, and we will go over that. However, no matter what his motives were, the result was that he killed 3 people, including a 6-year-old boy, Stephen Romero, a 13-year-old named Keila Salazar, and a 25-year-old Trevor Irby. He killed 3 people and injured 12 others before the police were able to arrive in less than a minute. Main news outlets reported that when the police arrived, they shot him dead, but the police have since reported the shooter actually shot himself when confronted by the police, and the truth in the matter is that they shot him, and before he died, he took himself out with one more shot.
Yep, he finished himself off. Per the usual, we are not going. So per the usual, we're not going to reward the shooter by saying his name. He doesn't deserve to be known. That said, here's what we know about the killer. He was 19 years old, and the location of the festival was his childhood home. He had moved from California to Nevada years ago, where he legally purchased a semi-automatic rifle that was used in the shooting.
Left-wing pundits have reported that his motives were because he was a white supremacist. They point to an Instagram account bearing his name that included captions on photos before the shooting that said, "Why overcrowd towns and pave open space to make room for hordes of mestizos in Silicon Valley white twats?" Mestizos refers to mixed-race person who's typically part white and part Hispanic. Funnily enough, in the quote from CNN, I don't recall them saying Silicon Valley in that piece. Mm-hmm. This could mean the shooter is racist, but that would mean he also hates himself, as he is also a mix of white and Hispanic. That Instagram account has since been deleted.
Yeah. Another of his posts said, "Read Might is Right" by Rangar Redbeard. Outlets like the New York Post mention that this book supports social Darwinism and white supremacy. It would be odd for a mixed-race person to support racial purity, in my opinion, but he wouldn't be the first. Hitler himself wasn't blonde-haired and blue-eyed either. However, that is not what is not mentioned is that the book is that the main focus the main focus of the book, Might is Right, is about like Antifa style anarchy and political violence. It heavily advocates egotism, anarchism, amorality, and physiological hedonism. The author argues that the question of what is right will never be answered by philosophical debate, but rather by whoever has the might to impose their moral worldview on others. Very much like both white supremacists in the past have tried to say that, enforce their moral view through violence by just taking over the political system with violence. But also the same way Antifa does. They're trying to impose their moral code, their belief system on society through violence.
And I would like to register my stark objection to anyone following the advice of an 1800s pirate.
Right.
Or possibly a character from Skyrim, as this sounds very much like Ragnar the Red, who rode from Whiterun to Old Rorikstead.
You can sing the song if you want to. It's up to you.
You know, I didn't know if I had the okay for that. Let's see.
Oh, go ahead.
Here we go. There once was a hero named Ragnar the Red, who came riding to White One from Rorik's stead. And the braggart did swagger and brandish his blade as he told of the battles and gold he had made. But then he went quiet, did Ragnar the Red, when he met the shield maid Matilda, who said, "Oh, you talk and you lie and you drink all our mead, now I think it's high time you lie down and bleed." And so came the clashing and slashing of steel as the brave lass Matilda charged in full of zeal. And the braggart named Roger was boastful no more when his ugly red head rolled around on the floor.
Okay, thank you.
I'm fairly certain that's at least significantly different to avoid any sort of copyright issues, but you can't be sure with YouTube's rules these days. Anyhow, a searcher's internet history showed that he viewed political materials, including both radical Islamic and white supremacist literature. He did not seem to have any coherent political ideology or clear motives, or at least not one we can prove with the evidence we have so far. People from both sides of political debate have argued he was hateful to one side or the other, but all we know for certain is that he was, like he said, a very angry young man.
We got a diamond, thanks to your singing from Daychrist. He says it takes balls to sing. I agree. So thank you for the diamond, Daychrist. There is also evidence that he may have had psychological issues, not a racial supremacist philosophy. One of his prior teachers described him as a problem kid, or and who defied authority, smarted off teachers, and picked verbal fights with other students. Not that those things don't happen with a normal kid either. They also said he had a spotty attendance record. When he chose to come to campus, he was very difficult to manage. There are some signs here that he may have been not really mixing with other people, possibly socially ostracized, and having some sort of psychological issues.
The whole thing is, well, clearly he was failed by whatever authority figures he did have. I suspect problems at home, but certainly you can't just say he's a white supremacist. Anyhow, a search of the home he spent the days in leading up to the shooting also found an empty bottle of the anxiety medicine diazepam, also known as Valium. The prescription was not in his name. This evidence implies the shooter may have been yet another in the trend of antisocial people taking antidepressants that ended up committing extreme acts of violence.
That is unfortunately a trend.
But how does garlic fit into this?
It doesn't, other than the fact that he was raised in that community and he was aware of the yearly festival.
I don't know. Oh,
yeah.
I think there might be a link.
Possibly.
Well,
garlic.
Everyone's trying to figure out which political side was he on, but he shot up a garlic festival, not a politics festival.
Well, I suspect he might have had the same logic as most shooters. I get the impression, I'm willing to bet, I would place good money that the Garlic Festival was a gun-free zone. Mansquatch in the YouTube chat was mentioning that they had airport security level security.
To beat me to it, man.
No legal guns get in, so he probably saw a pretty good opportunity there.
He was already in Nevada, where there's lots and lots of people, but guns are freely available. He decided to go to California, where guns are not very easily accessible, and then he went to a place inside of California that had even bigger restrictions on guns at a public event with lots of security. He was going for the biggest target, and as we mentioned, his internet history showed that he was looking up radical material from both Islamic and white supremacist sources, and also he was looking up, I don't know if we mentioned this earlier, but he was looking up other mass shooters, which is a common trend among mass killers, is they look up other people who have done it and kind of idolize themselves being like that person. So whatever his motives were, I think the reason why he did this is because he's a very troubled person who probably had some serious psychological issues, and there's also growing evidence that some of these drugs we're putting people on when they have antisocial behaviors can lead to radical actions like this.
Yeah, if you literally remove someone's will to live, which is what some of these drugs do, people are going to do things like this, unfortunately.
Yep. So they're still investigating. I'm sure more information will come out, and we may have updates on this story later on. Next story. We have Epstein wanted to be the next Genghis Khan. This is kind of an update on the previous story about the Jeffrey Epstein story. Last week we did a segment on Jeffrey Epstein. This guy with the sex slave island that helped Bill Clinton and many other rich and powerful figures find underage girls to assault, allegedly. Details about his past have largely been a mystery. Sometimes that contribute to him being able to get away with it for such a long time, but also that has been but now that he's been officially charged, many of those details are now coming to light. The strangest one of all the stories about Epstein that are coming out because of his current legal case is that Epstein apparently wanted to become the next Genghis Khan by impregnating dozens of women with the aim of, in quotes, seeding the human race with his DNA.
Genghis Khan lived, well, indeed, I suppose, on a certain objective level, no less, and the kind of key. Anyhow, Genghis Khan lived about 1,000 years ago and was so prolific in spreading his DNA that it is estimated that about 1 in 200 men alive today are his direct descendants. Epstein seemed to have a similar goal in mind, but his recent arrest derailed his plans to transform his vast New Mexico estate into a quote-unquote baby ranch. According to a scientist Epstein confided his scheme to, the plan was to host a score of women at his 33,000 square foot ranch house and impregnate them 20 at a time.
I somehow this is so stupid and impractical. I feel like it had to have been said in jest, because do you realize how many, the population of the Earth, and for you to get your DNA somehow on scale to 1 in 200. Do you have an idea how many people you'd have to impregnate? Even assuming they had multiple generations with having 2 kids each. I mean, it would take for a lot of women to impregnate to get to that kind of level.
I think there's a faster way here. There's a faster way if you really want to spread your DNA across the world, is you have to build a bomb that will deliver a payload of a virus that inserts your DNA into everyone that's affected by the bomb's blast radius.
Well, first, I want to say that there's a far more brilliant plan, and also sounds like the plot of a cartoon villain.
I see no problem with that.
It is Clown World after all. I mean, whoever works.
I'm just saying, if he's got $1 billion that he doesn't know what to do with, and he wants to give somebody money for this asinine idea of his, I'm right here.
Look, he's already going to be outshined anyway by the most industrious of the sperm donors.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a list of some of these sperm donors? How many children they can be credited with siring? We're talking 30s and plus.
Wait, wouldn't it have made more sense for him just to become a sperm donor, because he's already on the books, he's a multi-billionaire who looks successful. When they look at his profile, he's more likely to be chosen than a lot of other people. He likely is educated.
What makes you think he's not a sperm donor all over the place?
That seems like a far more direct way to getting what he wanted than bringing women to his ranch.
Well, provided he actually wanted it, like we were saying earlier, this could have been said in jest. He knows how dumb people are and that they'll believe anything you tell them. Maybe he was just playing. He's having fun with what he knows is the last moments of his life. He knows he's not going to be free again, so may as well troll people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder about that. I believe you might have heard about an incident where he was apparently found after a failed suicide attempt in his cell.
Yeah.
Oh,
Curled up in a fetal
yeah.
position. There's something I don't buy about that.
Well, what we're going to eventually find, I mean, he's going to eventually commit suicide by shooting himself in the back of the head 3 times with a double-barreled shotgun.
Well, I
can
thought
That's
guarantee
what I'm
you.
expecting.
I thought when they found him, that was an attempted suicide by Tortiglione. I thought there was another inmate that they were questioning pretty aggressively about that, and the guy was like, "I don't know nothing."
Yeah, what I heard was he was being suffocated, or he was choking himself, and the guy who was on top of him said he was trying to help the guy stop choking. Yeah, it's something ridiculous like that. I'm like, the story just doesn't sound like it makes any sense at all. But somehow they're writing it like it was a suicide attempt rather than the guy probably got caught in the act of choking the guy. And Jeffrey Epstein was too scared to say what actually was happening.
Yeah, because he knows he has to go back into that cell. Yeah, this is one of those things. Like I've already pretty much said, if I ever end up going to jail for anything, I'm gonna tell them flat out, like, you guys either put me in solitary confinement right away, or the second you let me in, I'm gonna earn my way in there. So your choice.
Well, what bothers me is that this is a high-value prisoner. Someone dropped the ball or is doing their best to try to drop the ball.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I think he's in jail, not prison, right now. So from what I remember in my criminal justice days, the point of jail is to just detain people before they have their trial and everything, and then after he's convicted in trial, then he goes to prison. So jail is pretty much like what you have in police stations, where you just got a cell with 40 guys in it who just got busted drunk driving or something.
Hey, I wanna
Yes.
thank, Tim
Again, I
Wolf
just
for
can't
the,
imagine them sticking in the same plebeian
four
cell
ice
with
cream.
whoever
Thank you
else
very
happens to
much.
be there. That seems awfully reckless for professionals. It's a high-profile case.
Yeah, well, like you said, it was probably on purpose. So.
Yep. Also, thank you, Blue Paw, for the lemon. Very much appreciated. And Timberwolf gave another lemon as well. Appreciate it. Anyways, so
Soon,
I think that they probably should be putting him in a cell by himself just because he has so much dirt on all these other people. So he's pretty valuable to prosecutors right now. I don't think they want to risk anyone having access to him right now.
No, I think these prosecutors know that if they act on any of the dirt he has on these other people, they're going to be the ones that end up committing suicide.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, the reason why he got the sweetheart deal in the first place, with the first time he got prosecuted, was because every single prosecutor that was involved in the case was being harassed, and their individual family members were being harassed and threatened on the daily. So I wouldn't doubt it.
I didn't know Bill Clinton could get around that fast.
That doesn't have to. There's an entire foundation for the purpose.
Yep. All right. So any last words on that story, or do I still got to read my last paragraph? There is no evidence that any of the plan was ever enacted, but those who knew about it say Epstein was obsessed with transhumanism and using technology to improve the human race. I don't see how that really directly associates to him siring half the human race, because I don't know if that's an improvement. While Epstein will never get to the chance to see his alleged vision come to fruition, we think that the human race has already been significantly improved by his arrest, and think it could be improved even further if he sings about all the powerful people he has dirt on.
Fingers crossed.
Won't happen, but I can always dream for, right?
Yeah, that'd be nice. That'd be nice.
All right. So the next story.
In lighter, and by lighter I mean even stupider news, did you know that robots are racist? Intersectional ideology hit a new, even more absurd low this week when the Human Interface Technology Laboratory in New Zealand published an article claiming the color of robots is a product of racism. Yes, racism. We're talking about racist robots.
The study, the quote-unquote study, rather than proving any objective, measurable, or replicatable facts, presented the subjective opinion that there is a problem that in movies depicting futuristic robots that are shiny and white. Even though not all the shiny futuristic robots are white, some are like silver, right, or gold. But just go with their premise for a second, right? They're all shiny white. This is despite the fact that other robot good guys have been depicted as not being white, like Chappie, and the movie Chappie, and how there have been white robots that have been bad guys in movies as well. Their quote-unquote study also complained about real robots like Honda's Osimo or Ubitek's Walker or Boston Dynamics Altus, and even NASA's Valkyrie robot, and complained that they were all white in color. What they ignore is that the stylistic choice of making white robots is not made because of racist reasons, but only because it's fashionable. It's a trend in style. It's not a moral judgment.
I don't know. I think Apple might be in trouble.
Well, and I covered this in my stream yesterday, and one of my viewers had a good point. So the whole point they're arguing in this article is, well, you guys know, like, robots are basically our slaves, right?
Right.
They're arguing for more black slaves. That's what they want.
Oh, no. It's racist no matter which direction you go.
There's no way out.
I find it funny. And, of course, all those fictional white good guy robots, like Robbie the Robot, all the robots in all the Fallout games ever, those are all white, right?
Yeah, isn't Wall-E responsible for destroying the Earth? He was white, wasn't he?
I think Wall-E was yellow, no less. Asian representation.
Oh, there you go.
What I'm wondering is exactly how, because I know he is, but I don't understand how C-3PO is racist.
I don't either.
Automatically is racist. That's the assumption we start with. We just got to now find the how.
And
Yeah,
he's a leading
it's like
robot representation of gay individuals.
What we need is a...
They also complain that many realistic robots use white people or white celebrities as models. These are just aesthetic choices made by designers. There just happens to be a lot of white and Asian males that gravitate towards robotics, so they're more likely to create white female robots. Its purpose is not racism. And furthermore, the same argument that goes for movies and games at this point might well apply. When you think of a safe character to make, you think of a white person because no one cares what happens to them.
Oh, jeez. So we thank you very much, Ori Main, for the 2 lemons. Very much appreciated. Hi, Ori. Nice to see you in the chat. It's colorist for robots. Yeah, I agree. So anyways, the study also said if robots are supposed to function as teachers, friends, or carers, for instance, then it will be a serious problem if all these roles are only ever occupied by robots that are racialized as white. This statement in the study reveals 2 things. First, apparently the author is racist and feels that black people shouldn't have white robotic friends or teachers. Though it's kind of sad if your friend is a robot and you don't have any real friends. It's not racist for a robot creator to just choose the aesthetic that appeals to them most. It is racist for a person to say that they wouldn't want to be taught by a robot because of the color of its artificial skin. Second, the author in the article apparently thinks that the way to deal with any possible real racism is through forced diversity or unequal treatment, rather than through teaching equal treatment of people, which is also racist.
I suppose the only logical outcome of this is to make sure that all robots look like they got caught in a hippie's laundry.
Make
Just
them all rainbow.
nothing but tie-dye robots here on out.
Nothing but LGBT robots.
Or how is this not bend over backwards and make people happy when they make unreasonable demands and complain about absurd things?
Yeah, that's the biggest problem there. People forgot how to say no.
Yeah.
I was bringing.
We're going to have a real problem when they expect robots to be done entirely in code that is non-binary.
Yeah, maybe a little bit, but that's the point. I'm sure even developers are probably going to put their foot down because I've been saying before, once I finally become actually move from consumer to creator, and if any of these NPCs wants to come in and say they feel unwelcome, that's because you are. You guys ruin everything you touch. We specifically don't want you here. You're not welcome. You're exactly right. Now go away.
I think there's a mountain of evidence that social justice ideology and intersectionality in our culture has put us back as far as scientific development, as far as, building up our collective knowledge as a society. I think they've put us backwards, and we need to just start saying no.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We're in the dark ages again because of them.
We're heading that direction. Not there yet, but definitely heading that direction. Thank you, Ori Main, for another 2 lemons, and thank you, Timberwolf, for another lemon.
I mean, they know how to throw a good parade. Gotta give them that.
Yeah, but
parades are fine. But
it's when they start destroying everything they touch that we need to say no.
That's not even the intersectionality of it. That's a relatively new thing, and yes, it is aggressively trying to take us backwards in time on every conceivable metric.
And it's by design, right? They're like, science. It's not facts that matter; it's feelings that matter. So that contradicts science in principle. Right?
Yeah, no, they're doing the Riot Games argument right there. We still believe in meritocracy, just a more equal and fair one.
The equal and fair meritocracy, when you define, just equal representation of race, or actually unequal, because if you're trying to say, we need to have every single group equally represented. Well, our society is not, it doesn't have those equal grouping, right? If you have like say America is 40% white, it wouldn't be weird for 40% of actors to be white. That would be it fit the population. Not that that's how you should decide. Not that you should be deciding the race of the race of who are actors, because that doesn't determine who tries to become an actor, or who has the skill, who has the merits. The whole idea is absurd.
Yeah, you know how the best way to fix this though is next time you see some allegedly straight white male virtue signaling about how they need more minorities, or there's too many white people at the company, just tell them as soon as you're ready to give your job up for some black woman, then we'll take you seriously. Until then, sit down and shut the fuck up.
Don't give them a victory. No matter what they complain about, no matter how much they say, we're going to boycott or we're going to quit. Always hire on merit and fire on merit. If they suck at their job, fire them. If they're good at their job, hire them, and give them responsibility equal to their ability.
But you also have to consider, even if they are good at their job, if they're an NPC, they're going to destroy your company in the long run. Every company considers, what they call it, you didn't fit the culture of the company or something. They all consider that as a criteria, and for good reason.
Yes, I consider that as part of the merit. If you are, if you're in the military and you espouse that you hate the military and it's all it stands for, then you probably shouldn't be in the military.
Yeah, you're probably an infiltrator waiting to screw shit up the first chance you get. Yeah, that's right. So that's why I always kind of roll my eyes, because I see this all the time in the anime community. You see these, they're basically pulling a Sarkeesian. Now, I've been an anime fan my whole life. I just hate literally everything about it that makes it appealing in the first place. That's all.
Ridiculous.
We do have an easy fix for the robot thing, though. I mean, can we literally not fix this with just paint?
I guess if you want to waste money and time, it costs the company a lot of money to just bend, And you know what? Next thing you do, if you paint them all black, they're gonna say, "Oh, now it's racist because they're all black." They're just gonna keep moving the goalpost. And how many times do we need to spend our time and our money to bend them? I think it should be never.
Well,
there is a solution, and that is same thing like with cars. Just say, just give them different color options, and if it's more expensive to produce a certain color, charge them more. If they want to pay more to repaint it, let them.
And I think that they should charge especially more if they repaint it with artists doing it. And I guess we're going to have a lot of money going to a lot of artists to fix this problem. But I mean, if that's what has to be done.
I got 3 Streamlabs I got to go through real quick. First one's from Slowpoke Garcia for $2 saying, RGE better come back row life soon. Considering my history making Frankenstein monsters, nobody is safe. Timberwolf says for $5, also the joke Chuck Norris, all women, if 10-mile radius, then he gets pregnant. I think he's making a joke about Jeffrey Epstein and trying to get everyone pregnant. Also with somehow mixing in a Chuck Norris joke. Then Slowpoke Garcia for another $2 saying, don't forget my Streamlabs message, Dyer. Don't make me scare you awake. Also, hi everybody. I didn't forget. Anyways, you guys want to move on to the next story?
Sure.
All right. Next story is going to be the Baltimore, the DNC city of tomorrow.
No, so you give a title like that, I think this one really needs a proper name. Baltimore, DNC's city of tomorrow.
Wait. This isn't the Babylon Bee article that kind of covered the similar topic, is it? This is not a parody. This is real CNN. Oh, sorry. Yeah, CNN is the new Onion. I forgot.
Right, it's the same thing.
Yeah, it is a parody. That's right.
I think the Onion owns CNN by this point.
Yeah. No, if anything, if I was in the Onion, I'd be mad because CNN is making me irrelevant.
Well, they might as well just merge because they're doing the same content.
Might as well. In the event that you somehow missed the 24/7 wall-to-wall media coverage of the event, we'd like to break the news to you that Trump tweeted something, and some people got upset about it. Shocking, we know. The tweet thread came last Saturday and was targeted at House Representative Elijah Cummings and made reference to the conditions of his constituents that are forced to endure in the district he has represented for 23 years. Of key concern to the Orange Man Bad crowd was this excerpt from Trump's tweet. Cummings district is a disgusting rat and rodent-infested mess. If he spent more time in Baltimore, maybe he could help clean up this very dangerous and filthy place.
We got a Streamlabs from Timberwolf. He said, if they were all black, they would say goes back to slavery. Just like I said, yeah, if they made all the robots black, that would be. Oh, they just cry about that too. Anyways, back to Baltimore. The media said what the media said. Democrats said that the word infestation is synonymous with black people. So, in response to his tweet, a bunch of the left-wing media started saying, "Oh, infested? That means black."
Wait, so the media is deciding to reveal who the real racists are yet again.
Themselves. A CNN anchor comes to tears. Actually went to tears over Trump's tweets. Let's take a look at the video. I'll pull it up in a second. But pretty ridiculous. He was actually crying over Trump calling attention to this problem. It was this guy right here. I don't know if you guys can see that. But this guy actually was crying about his hometown of Baltimore being called rat infested. Let's see if we can play the video real quick. It's loading.
This morning, the president attacked another member of Congress on Twitter. This time, it's House Oversight Committee Chairman Elijah Cummings.
FaceApp is everywhere.
He wrote this.
Download it.
Cummings District is a disgusting, rat and rodent-infested mess. If he spent more time in Baltimore, maybe he could help clean up this very dangerous and filthy place. No human being would want to live there. Infested. That's usually reserved for references to rodents and insects, but we've seen the president invoke infestation to criticize lawmakers before. You see a pattern here? Just 2 weeks ago, President Trump attacked 4 minority congresswomen. Why don't they go back to the totally broken and crime-infested places from which they came? Reminder, 3 of them were born here. All of them are American.
So he made the argument that because Trump also used the word infested when referring to Somalia, saying it was crime infested, and because he was referring to Ilhan Omar, who is a black person, and Somalia is also predominantly black, that it must, this is a trend. It means he's referring to black people rather than the fact that Somalia is a corrupt, violent, and highly a place with a extremely high crime rate. And he was saying it was infested with crime. Maybe Trump just likes the word infested. He was using it accurately.
Hey, Dyer, judging by the chat, I think one of your other tabs has an autoplay video open.
Yes, I had to close it just a moment ago.
Okay.
Thank you, though. He says. A week before his inauguration,
I wasn't able to hear the audio myself, but I think I've got the gist of it. I knew the moment this came up there and talked about dog whistles, and I find that very interesting, that it's still being used to this day. Dog whistles, these silent messages that only racists can hear, but only they themselves will admit to hearing.
Yeah, it's funny how they hear these dog whistles when we don't. Huh.
You guys can't hear the whistling? I might need to see an ear doctor, actually.
Yeah, although speaking of dog whistles, the most recent alt-right Nazi dog whistle is the hand clap emoji, because that replicates the sound of a cracking whip. So anytime you see these NPCs using the hand clap after every word, point that out to them.
I knew it.
I knew there was all racist.
Those hand clap emojis.
The Nazis are everywhere. I knew it. Oh, geez.
Is there nothing the white supremacists can't take away?
So
yeah, all we have to do is everything the other side likes, we got to convince actual white supremacists to start doing, and then watch them fall apart.
Yeah.
You know that the rainbow flag is homophobic.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, no, the term LGBT is as well.
Yep.
Well, I mean, I'm serious about the rainbow flag because originally it was a symbol of genocide after God wiped out all of the sinners and sodomites.
I prefer the interpretation of the rainbow flag in indicating a space for each color, a safe space for every race.
But you need to add a black and brown stripe to it, otherwise it's not inclusive enough.
BLM was trying to do that not too long ago.
That was a joke, but I know, they did that.
No, see, there are no jokes anymore. Every time we make a joke or do a straw man, that's it. Every time we create a straw man of an NPC, they say, "Hold my soy milk. You ain't seen nothing yet. We could take the straw man you made of us and make that look normal by comparison."
Yeah, I was having that conversation with Foxlaw just the other day. He brought up, we were talking about a news story. He's like, "Hey, remember Dyer when you joked about this like last year or whatever?" Like, yeah, it actually happened now. Like, fuck, I can't make jokes about it anymore because it's any joke you make is they take it as a challenge.
Yeah, it's got to be like 4D chess or something. They know we use humor as a weapon, so they're going to disarm us. Like, oh no, you think that's a joke? Well, we'll do it for real. Then we'll see who's laughing.
It even happened with Dick Masterson recently. He was joking about how, the next thing they're going to do is tell you that you can't use toilet paper because it's bad for the environment. And like not a week after he said that, they came out with articles saying that toilet paper was harmful to the environment and we should really figure out a way to have just, more shit on us, I guess.
Yeah, well, I want you to rinse yourself with your hand with a little bucket of water, and then wipe yourself with your own hand, kind of like they do in the Middle East. Let's finish up this little section of video because this guy actually gets starts tearing up over Trump's tweets.
3,000 times.
I know you guys can hear it, but the audience can.
People, many different types of people. But when he tweets about infestation, it's about black and brown people. September 2014, at the height of an urgent health emergency. Why are we sending thousands of ill-trained soldiers into Ebola-infested areas of Africa?
Oh, so because he's saying that we're sending ill-trained soldiers who are not, medical professionals into an area in Africa that is infested literally with the disease of Ebola, because he's calling out that problem. He's saying, oh, well, infested, again, is referring to black people. No, he's using the word literally. It's infested with a disease.
Africa. Bring the plague to the U.S.? Obama is so stupid. Infested, he says. There's a revolution going on in California. So many sanctuary areas want out of this ridiculous crime-infested and brutal
Again,
concept.
are we going to argue that California is not crime-infested? I mean, is it not a objective fact that there is high crime rates in some areas of California? I think it's an objective fact.
About Congressman Cummings' district.
Yeah, well, objective facts are just a social construct.
Could that be any more fake of a choked up? I mean, come on. There's no emotion in that guy's face.
Well, have you ever met an NPC that's not a total sociopath? Like, all they can do is observe other people and mimic their behavior. That's the best they can manage.
God, do you think that all the NPCs really are sociopaths? Could that be a really high percentage of the population? I hope not. But it makes sense. Like, the person who made that the anti-man-spreading chair has to be a sociopath.
Yeah.
Just enjoys causing men pain.
Yeah, well, it gets even better too. I think there was a Reddit post where people were actually admitting that they thought they didn't have any internal monologue, basically, and they're like, "Wow, it's not just me." And so someone was pointing out, like, "Hey, look, Reddit's actually admitting that they're NPCs. Look at this."
Well, actually, there is an article I read recently. There is actually a large percentage of the population that don't have an internal monologue, don't speak to themselves in their head.
Yeah, they're called NPCs. Yeah.
And so those people, for them to have to think through things, they had to say it out loud. It's foreign to me. I don't understand. Or they just don't think throughout the day. I don't know.
Well, that's why there's a large. I mean, I used to not understand people until I realized, the reason they're being so stupid is because they're operating entirely on emotion. They're not thinking. Whatever feeling pops into their head first, they act on. And then everything makes sense.
Yeah. Jeez Louise. In any case, the point of this is Trump likes to use the word invested. He uses it, in context correctly, but they're saying it's racist. So Trump's formula is noun infested. He uses it in a way infested is supposed to be used. He never uses it to refer to a race of people. Only the media seems to have made this connection. It is maybe because they think Baltimore is infested with, I don't know, minorities. Is that why it was so easy for them to make that connection?
Yeah, they're just projecting their own racism onto everybody else.
What Trump said was that Baltimore was a place, quote, no human being would want to live, unquote. He said this because of the very real infestation of rats and crime in that city. This claim is not new. It did not come from Trump. It came from the residents of Baltimore and Democrats themselves. Director Theo Anthony published a documentary in 2017 titled Rat Film. Talking about this issue, Theo Anthony is a liberal and resident of Baltimore who is drawing attention to the very real problems in the place he calls home.
After Trump's tweet about the rat problem, a bunch of residents of Baltimore, including many who were black, came out showing videos and pictures of the conditions in Baltimore, showing that it truly is rat infested. These people were thankful for Trump calling out the problem and were concerned that the Democrats, the ones that they've been voting for, were pretending like there wasn't a problem or that the problem didn't exist. Check out this funny video of a news anchor saying Trump should come and see Baltimore for himself before judging, and during the clip, a rat walks across the screen. So, he's telling Trump he should come check the place out himself. Oh, look! Guess it is rat infested. That's up to you.
Well, what is this city doing about it? The mayor's city council response was to say, we're waiting on you. That isn't the type of self-reliance I would expect from one of America's oldest cities. What is the city council doing about it? Nothing! They spent their time this week banning plastic bags and charging the already impoverished community to use paper bags. This is quintessential Democrat policy to ignore real problems and focus things like environmentalism. This is the city of the Green New Deal. This is the DNC's city of tomorrow.
That's not a lie. That's I did notice it's intentional. The reason that they don't solve any real problems, because if they actually solve the problems, how would they get reelected by promising to solve those problems again and again and again and again and again?
Yeah.
Problems are useful. Solutions are not.
And part of it is they want to maintain these problems, but also maintain the scapegoat, the person who they're going to keep blaming. Maybe it's the rich, maybe it's the powerful Republican elites. They're the people trying to keep the man down, right? They got to keep the problem and also keep blaming this other person and pitting Americans against Americans to justify why they should be voted for. Because they can't just, their policies don't result in any kind of prosperity. So they can't depend on just having people having prosperity and being happy, and that's why they get voted for, to maintain that. So, it's through the division that they keep getting voted for. The DNC's Cities of Tomorrow strategy includes: don't stop crime, that's racist. Don't call this for streets to be cleaned up, that's racist. Don't call out local representatives for cultivating generations of poverty, because that would be racist. Don't call out any problems at all, because that would be racist. And to the extent that you implement policy at all, make sure it forces the lowest income members of the city to make punitive sacrifices on the altar of environmentalism. Filthy poverty, government incompetence. These are the qualities of Democrats running Baltimore's of the Democrats running Baltimore, and it's the DNC that's using it was the DNC using this template for the cities they control. So basically, every Democrat-controlled city has a lot of these same problems: high crime, high poverty. The policies they're using that are supposed to be for the community, to help the community, are causing these problems.
And rather than solve the problems, lots of grandstanding over plastic bags and straws.
Yeah.
I have a solution.
Yep.
Yeah. So, what do people need to do to solve this problem? They need some funding, so we need to get some money in there from tourism. And how do you get tourism into cities like Baltimore? Well, who wouldn't love a real-life playable version of Fallout?
No, Detroit's already doing that, dude. Like,
you just gotta market it right. You gotta market it right, and then all these people will be falling over themselves to spend money to be there and pull out their plastic guns or whatever, and whatever the little accoutrement for the video game is. You could sell those for people going into Baltimore.
Yeah, that way the stench is not a bug; it's a feature.
Yeah, that's right. It was always intended. But now there's actually another way we could fix these problems too. Just limit people's freedom of mobility, I guess, because we're seeing this with California. The rich, gated community, upper class liberals who voted for the policies that are ruining California are the ones who have the money to leave, and now they're moving to Texas and trying to ruin Texas like they ruined California. And the poor people they claim to want to help are stuck holding the shit sack. So if we forced people to clean up their own messes that they made and did not let them escape, this problem may actually be solved pretty quickly.
I think that the solution to the problem can include removing people's freedoms, but I definitely see your point.
Perhaps we can just outlaw the gated communities.
Yeah, it's just like I said with the corporate employee who said the white guy who says there's too many white people in the company. Fire him and replace him with a black guy to make an example of him. So it's the same thing with the same thing here. If you ruin your own state, you should be forced to stay there and fix it. You should not be allowed to run away from the problem you created, because otherwise, what we have is pretty much a swarm of locusts. They're Yeah, they're going fields to fields, just eating everything in sight, turning into a barren wasteland, and then just moving to the next one. Eventually, we just have to tell them, no, you're going to stay in your barren wasteland now. We're not going to let you in.
I think the real problem and solution is education, because the only reason why people vote for the Democrats and fall for their emotional reasoning is because they haven't been taught how to think critically. You know, we have schools that are creating imbeciles, that they're teaching to the lowest common denominator and teaching an ideology that supports the philosophy that the Democrats are pandering to, right? And the schools have been teaching like this for years, and we're suffering the consequences of it now.
And you notice that this shit didn't start happening until after the Department of Education was created. Maybe we should abolish that pile of fucking shit, and things will actually get better.
I'm not really in favor of the dynamite strategy, where something's not functioning, so let's blow it up. But definitely there's a problem. It can either be fixed or reformed from the bottom up. But I agree with you. There's a problem.
Huge.
I think we can fix it if we charge a little more for college, maybe.
Oh,
yeah, that's right.
Let's just people are going to college. You're right.
Well, no, the problem. I worked at a college, so the entire problem is the government guaranteed loans, because as soon as the colleges learned that, however, they could charge $300,000 a year if they want, and the government's going to give these idiots loans to get their degree in underwater basket weaving or something. So, and if you notice. Yeah, notice how the money's being spent. Professors' salaries have been pretty stagnant as the price of college has been skyrocketing. It's pretty much like corporations now. Their administrators are the ones leeching away all the money.
Yeah, I brought up the story of the women's study department in a college in Arizona bought a park, had a park constructed from their budget. Just that one part of the university had enough extra money to build a park with all this art that was completely empty. And okay, so maybe if you have all this money to build this unused park that has no practical benefit to the university, maybe you're charging too much for your courses, which we already know are worthless, because what job can you get with a women's studies degree other than teaching women's studies?
Oh no, but haven't you heard that the solution is always throw more money at it? Honestly, that I wish more people would ask this question, because American schools get pretty much more. Yeah, they get exponentially more money than most of the rest of the world, and yet we're still being just whooped internationally by third world countries. Maybe money isn't the problem.
I think
just a thought.
One of the problems you already noted was too many people going to colleges because it's too. They are being given money to do so. So because the government guarantees you can get a loan to go to college, way more people go to college, and it created this problem where if everyone has a college degrees are less valuable, and no, you don't need a college degree to get a job. There's lots.
College is the new high school.
Right. There's so many other options, trade schools you can go to that don't get you a degree, but you can get a very good paying job. Because we flooded the market with college degrees, they're now considered more worthless.
Yeah, and colleges are actually starting to freak out, because what you just said, combined with how anti-male school has become, men are refusing to go to college now in increasing numbers, and they are doing exactly what you said. They go into trade school, or they learn to code on their own, and they launch their own businesses, and colleges are freaking out. And women too, because it's not really a well-kept secret, but quite a few women go to college to find a husband, and now they're realizing hey, it's nothing but other women here. What the hell?
I have not
so even they don't like it.
Yeah, so Dacris says, and yet students still need...
What's the female equivalent of a sausage party anyway?
Tuna party?
Yeah. I've learned something today.
And yet students still need to buy their own supplies for school, even though huge Department of Education funds. Yeah, so in California, I know their school budget, like 80% of it goes to administration, only 20% of it actually goes to supplies for the schools. It's pretty terrible.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a lot of people in the government bureaucracy getting paid really big salaries, but they keep saying, "Oh, we need more money in the budget for the kids." That money's not going to the kids. Stop lying. Anyways, any closing shots on the story that I think we went really off on? I'll take that as a no. So, next story, Equifax.
And he said, like, oh, no one's ever
Is that me?
would be more than willing to, actually, if there was accountability. Like, say, oh, our roads are all full of potholes. We need to raise the taxes to maintain the roads. Okay, I will agree to your tax increase as long as I get to see exactly how every cent of that money is being spent, and I get to challenge it. But because it's never going to happen, because what always happens is, oh, we need to raise the taxes to fix the roads or for the chillins. And then as soon as all that money comes in, they reroute it into their own pockets. And we need to raise taxes again to fix the roads and for the chillins. And none of that money ends up going there. So if there was actual accountability, I'd be willing to accept a tax increase. But since the government is never willing to give us that accountability, they could go fuck themselves. They're never going to have a tax increase anymore.
Oh, they'll find some way, it seems.
I feel like that would be a good like a hero character in a fictional revenge type of movie. It's like the accountant. He just goes through, balances the books with an iron fist.
Yeah, just
Finds out
goes
who's
through all
leaking
the
the money out.
That's right.
Redirects
Goes
it
through
to a
all the
hitman.
government projects, all the records, finds who's skimming money off the top. Yeah.
Yeah, then he kicks down their door and they're like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "It's time for an accounting."
Oh, jeez. I've heard of worse stories.
Definitely take part in. I want to read that and or watch it. Speaking of accounting, Equifax pounds us too. Of all the pound Me Too revelations we got in 2017, the most egregious perpetrator had to have been Equifax. In September of that year, it was revealed that the Credit Reporting Bureau had pounded the identities of 147 million Americans by exposing massive amounts of their personal data that included social security numbers, driver's license addresses, and dates of birth.
At the time, Equifax had responded by first not telling anyone for several weeks after they had become aware of the situation.
Smart.
Yeah, very smart there. Very kind of them. After making a statement that amounted to saying, "Oops, sorry, our bad," they launched an assistant website that allowed victims of 147 million of them to register in Equifax credit monitoring service for free. The catch was that the service would only be free for 1 year. Ah, that's smart. Release all our information and then charge us to monitor our own credit after you've done it, which is something you offered to us for free, but then charged us for.
Is this the template the ESA is going to use?
Oh, that is a brilliant business decision right there.
Yes. Sinister. Extremely.
Even though the effects of the breach could last for decades, and because the service was set to charge a credit card and auto-renew after the free year was up, Equifax was going to start profiting from victims who had bought their credit monitoring service because Equifax themselves had created it for had created the credit monitoring for the leak of their identities. That's brilliant and evil.
Truly. It was also widely believed at the time that buried in the terms of service no one reads was a clause that would make it impossible for consumers to sue Equifax for the breach if they accepted the free credit monitoring, which was a pretty sleazy move. Worst of all, the site Equifax set up for this was very simple and easily duplicated by hackers hoping to trick victims into putting their personal information into the fake version of the site. One fake site was so convincing, Equifax actually tweeted out a link to it, rather than their own real site, further confusing victims.
Oh, come on. I mean, Really? How could this have not been on purpose? I'm sorry. I mean, sure, maybe they fucked up and they released, those 147 million people's personal information, and maybe they're like, you know what? We made a big mistake that hurt a lot of people. Let's just find a way to profit off our mistake. Take advantage of them by forcing them, by tricking them to buying a service that they will be able to charge them for many years to come. I mean, maybe they did that, but come on, this sounds like it's so well orchestrated. Except for the whole linking to the wrong website thing, it seems like it was on purpose.
Well, no, it's in their defense. As someone who's been in the anime, gaming, comics communities, all that, I don't really have a very high opinion of the level of alleged education that the average social media manager has. So just keep that in mind. This was a social media manager that posted that link.
It's Equifax. It's a financial institution.
Well, and that was being run by what, a music major, was it? At least the security was, yeah. Oh, we haven't gotten to that part yet. Am I too far ahead?
Let's just say it's very serendipitous that all of their mistakes always manage to take money away from people and to them. It's never the mistakes never work the other way, mysteriously.
Yeah, what happens to the thought that when you wrong someone, when you harm someone, you give them something to make up for it, rather than scheme of a way to take more from them? That's evil. Jeez Louise.
Yeah, that's EA levels of evil right there.
Right.
It's Equifax levels evil at this point. And I don't think EA has pulled shit on this level. This is the sort of thing
that we know
pretty
of.
bad, don't get me wrong, but this is the sort of stunt that they have wet dreams about.
Oh, jeez.
This is what they aspire to.
So 2 years later, Equifax finally got their comeuppance last week when it was announced that they had reached a settlement agreement with the FTC and several other state and federal entities at between $575 and $700 million. The settlement is the largest ever for a data breach, but with 147 million victims, that is only enough for about $125 per person. And I don't know if you've ever had your identity stolen. Generally, when someone steals your identity, they don't just take $125. And I'll bet you the cost of their monitoring service is more than $125 for a year. The going price can be between $100 and $200 for a similar service. I'm sure they weren't going below market price.
Yeah, that fine must have sounded really impressive to some idiot bureaucrat who doesn't bother to look at their profit margins.
Right.
Yeah, and then you also have to consider the people that are going to be skimming the money off the top of that before it even gets to the actual people who were affected.
The lawyers that actually ran the suit, yeah. Jeez Louise.
The range of the settlement is because Equifax will only pay you that $125 if you claim it, and they don't expect that everyone will go through the hassle. It could have been a nice gesture if they just sent a check to everyone without the American people having to jump through more hoops. It's not like they didn't have everyone's address ready. Or direct deposits, checking account numbers and credit accounts. But you get the idea.
Yep. They had all the information. All they had to do was to send the money, but of course they're not going to do that. Oh, geez. So, to help people make sure this hurts Equifax as much as possible, do your part and request your claim if you were affected. We have a link in the description that will take you to the correct page. Be wary of the site, though. Whether you get a link from us or from anyone else, there are already clone sites popping up that are trying to steal your data. We got this link from the FTC.gov site, so we are pretty sure it's safe.
Unless it was the Equifax social media manager that put it there anyway. Yeah.
And then we're all fucked.
Yeah, but the biggest tragedy of this whole situation, though, is nobody had any say in this. Like, if this isn't something we signed up for, Equifax, Experian, and was it TransUnion? They're always spying on us whether we consented to it or not. And then these literal like big brother organizations that are collecting all of our data, then one of them gets hacked and this happens, and people still think things like, oh no, just put all your data in the cloud. What could go wrong? Yeah, sure.
But while the link might be safe, you are not. Capital One was apparently the next in line to have its way with the American citizenry and just told Equifax to hold its beer while it exposed 100 million more U.S. citizens' socials, IDs, account numbers, and other personal identifying information. The story is still developing, so we don't know all the details yet, but among the things we do know is a silver lining. This breach was conducted by a woman, meaning that we are finally making progress towards closing the gender gap in STEM-related crimes.
I want to thank Dacris for his Ninjagini. Thank you very much. Also, I want to thank Dante713 for the follow. It's very much appreciated. We are 9 follows away from getting to 200 followers. When we do that, we can start uploading our individual videos to DLive, and we'll get stream priority, more bandwidth. So please, if you are watching us now and you haven't followed, please hit the follow button. We would very much appreciate it.
Nice.
Yep, very close. We're on the cusp of it. Yeah. Equifax, that's a pretty dirty company. I would never want to do business with them because even when they're saying they're trying to make right what they've done in the past to wrong people, they're just still trying to take advantage of them.
Well, sadly, it's as I just said. You don't have a choice. You are going to do business with them.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. It's just like the government. Yeah, you don't have a choice.
See, that's not something that should be possible for an agency that isn't the government, though. So the government's dropping the ball in making that no longer a thing. That's kind of one of the things there's one of the few valid uses the government has is to hypothetically prevent those situations.
Oh, Dacris had a message with his Ninjagini. It said, Slowpoke Garcia got deported to Mexico. What? No, he didn't. He was on earlier. Unless it just happened, in which case, wow, that was fast. He's legal, though. I already know that.
Maybe he's going on vacation.
Be careful. We had another follow from Logs Stuff, or Log Stuff. Thank you very much, Log Stuff. Sounds like that name might be an inside joke. I'm just not getting. Oh, well. So, next story, guys.
New York bans teachers' Second Amendment rights.
Yep.
In an alleged effort to curb school shootings, New York has instituted a statewide ban on teachers and other faculty from being armed while on school grounds. The bill was signed into law by Governor Cuomo, the smarter of the Cuomo brothers, which isn't saying much this past Wednesday. The law immediately limits the ability of all New York State schools, colleges, and universities from authorizing teachers and staff to carry on premises, because as we all know, teachers are the one that usually carry out... Oh, wait, I'm being told that's actually the teachers and staff that typically try to protect the students, not gun them down in the halls. Glad we cleared that up. Thinking that teachers and staff are the ones prone to representing the danger to the students could end up with some pretty strange legislation being passed, like, I don't know, this bill, for instance.
Yeah, what better way to prevent mass shootings than to create more all-you-can-shoot buffets, aka gun-free zones?
Yes, the one thing that we need to do is remove any more potential protections for these children. It's the only way to be sure. I'm not really sure of what, unless you're trying to raise the kill count, but...
Make sure the shooters are more successful. Remove more defenses of the students. Brilliant, New York. Brilliant. How many times... Oh, yeah, you already said, though. No teachers have been the perpetrators of school shootings.
It's getting crazy. Like, when are people just going to ban shootings?
I know. We should just ban killing people. Right?
I am shocked and horrified that mass shootings have not been made illegal yet. Right? Where are our legislators on this issue? What have they been doing all this time?
We just need a big law that says stop it. Stop it. Cut that out.
Just stop it.
On
Stop
the other
being
hand,
bad,
I didn't know
okay?
murder was legal, and oh boy. My weekend is now planned out.
Do you guys remember that time there was a lawmaker, I think it was in New York, that was offered a sign to put their money where their mouth was, that said that their home was a gun-free zone, and said, hey, we can put it in your front yard, and he was like, no. Of course not. I'm not gonna do that. I want to advertise that there's no gun in my house. Like, why would you not want to do that? Because they're telling prospective robbers that there's gonna be no resistance? Is that the problem? Well, that's what you're doing in schools. That's what you're doing everywhere you say there's a gun-free zone. You're telling the possible criminals that there'll be no resistance. You idiots.
Yeah, and I heard a related story to that was there was a feud between two neighbors, and yeah, one of them was a hardcore socialist, the other was all full-blown Second Amendment Republican. So the Republican guy actually put up a sign and said, we actually believe in the Second Amendment here. We're armed to the teeth. This guy, on the other hand, is against guns. So if you're going to rob anybody, go over there.
There was also one lawmaker that had that released a map of all the gun owners, so their addresses, right? Who and what place they lived that had a gun, and they released that publicly, which is horrible. First off, you're subjecting all these people to possible violence, but then you're also everyone that doesn't have a gun. You're saying this place you can go to and they won't have a gun to defend themselves. It was bad on both sides of it.
Yeah, and even then it depends on the neighborhood too, because if it's in a neighborhood where everyone has a gun, just not reported, yeah, you still have to be a little bit smart. But yeah, and when I saw that happen, there was people on the pro-gun side were actually even more mad about it than the others. But I actually thought the anti-gun crowd would be more mad for the reason you said, where they basically had this nice, neat map that said, hey, if you don't want any resistance, go rob these places.
So dumb.
Although, for what it's worth, I actually believe that should be mandatory. If you're anti-gun, you should advertise it on your lawn. For the same reason that we were just talking about. Because if you honestly believe, no, I don't want to advertise I don't have a gun because that'll encourage people to attack me. And yet you support gun-free zones. Yeah. Okay. Okay, it makes total sense. Yeah.
Yeah, that really should be rubbed in.
Yeah.
Thank you for the follow, Destro. As much as that would seem like, just desserts, making them reveal that they don't have a gun in the home. Again, I'm very opposed to the government forcing people to do things. I really think the government should be responsible for very few things and have very few tentacles into our lives. You're supposed to exist because of the military.
I would say that you don't need to have the government enforce it, but you should have everyone reminding them constantly and asking them why they haven't done it.
Oh yeah, social pressure.
So they have to explain themselves again and again and again until they finally
just do it.
So that light bulb goes off.
No, we should actually take it a step further. We should say that you're not allowed to have an anti-gun opinion unless you can fight 1v1 against a gunman with no gun. Because at that point, you proved that you have the skills and the combat power that you've ascended beyond the need for mere weapons.
Yeah, and at the very least, celebrities and politicians who are anti-gun should be prohibited from having armed security.
Jeez. Actually, that's
guns bad.
Again, that would be very poetic justice, because it's very hypocritical of them to have all those people with guns around them protecting them, and then they're saying everyone else shouldn't have this.
How cool would it look if they had a bunch of samurai swordsmen around them? That would look awesome. I'd be up for that.
If this was the UK, even that would be too far. You can't even have a cricket bat or a butter knife or anything. Oh no, spoon. Yeah, you guys saw that, right? Yeah, the knife return bin had a fucking spoon in it, and they were neatly arranged on a table. These intelligent individuals specifically picked out those items for the photo. So either someone was an epic level troll, or they really are just that stupid. It could go either way.
I don't know.
I'd like to think that they're in on the joke, whoever arranged that photo. I'd like to think they're in on the joke. Otherwise, it's kind of scary.
Yeah, I'd like to think so too, but every time I give them the benefit of the doubt, they say, hold my soy milk.
It's very possible that the person that actually did the arranging and taking of the photo was an intern and not an actual police officer or actual lawmaker. Probably someone really low on the totem pole that may have either been really dumb or really didn't care.
Actually, we got a good point. Shit Meme Dank Post says every mass shooting that is stopped is not a mass shooting, so they're never talked about. Good point. Kind of skews the statistics a little bit, doesn't it?
Well,
and this would mesh with everything we've heard about not wanting to solve problems, but rather create more so they can complain about them.
Well,
create more problems so you can campaign around fixing them, and then never actually doing it, so you could campaign around fixing them again infinitely.
I just realized I could be a politician.
You could be. There have been stats that come out showing that up to about a million different crimes or assaults are stopped per year due to defensive use of firearms, and those include cases where someone tries to mug someone, they pull out the gun, they don't even have to fire it, they just pull it out and the guy runs off. That was a defensive use of a firearm. Defensive use of a firearm very rarely involves actually shooting someone. Just the presence of you having the ability to defend yourself usually scares off the criminal.
No wonder there's a concerted effort to get rid of them.
Yeah.
After all, it's solving so many problems that they could be using to campaign on.
Yeah, and as dumb as most criminals are, they're at least smart enough to go after their target of least resistance. So which is why, like even burglars, if there's anybody in the house, even if it's just they look through the window and they see a 90-year-old granny, that 90-year-old granny could be packing heat. They're not going to risk it if the house right next to hers is empty.
One of the most hilarious videos I saw of a self-defense of a firearm was there was this little Asian lady who had, was it 4 or 5 guys, big dudes, break into her house compared to her. And she has her own security camera that catches what she did. And she runs out firing willy-nilly, missing in every direction, not actually hitting anybody, but firing madly. And the guy that was actually in the house already was behind her, was so freaked out by the indoor firing of a gun, he runs from behind her, past her, in the direction she's firing. I don't know if he had the presence of mind. They also had guns, right? The guys that broke in also had guns. He could have shot her from behind, but because they're pansies, these criminals aren't hardened soldiers that are cool under fire. He ran out of the house, putting himself in the direction she was shooting.
Well, he probably saw how her aim was anyway, so it's not like he was risking much.
There was like part of the ceiling was coming down in dust during the video because she was firing everywhere. It was hilarious. Oh, jeez. I don't know if you guys know this, but when you fire a gun indoors, if you ever guys do, have to defend yourself with a firearm, just know that it's a lot louder indoors. So be ready for that.
Yeah, and also if you live in an apartment building especially, at least carry some hollow point rounds because you don't want them going through your walls and killing your neighbors.
Yes. So
you haven't met those neighbors.
Yeah, right. Maybe I don't.
Well, even if you don't like your neighbors, you're still the one that's going to be held legally accountable for it. So,
yeah.
Actually, no, maybe not. No, if you're in an area that has felony murder laws, that would be different. And I know it sounds stupid, right? Murder is a felony, duh. But no, that's say if you are involved in if you are perpetrating a felony, then you are the one held responsible for any other crimes that happen as a result of it. So there have been cases like this before where there was a bank robber and a getaway driver, and the bank robber goes into the bank and actually ends up getting killed, and the getaway driver gets charged with the death of his partner under that felony murder law.
Wow.
So that's actually pretty fucking awesome there. So maybe you could get rid of your annoying neighbors and get the criminals charged with it too, if you're smart about it.
Win-win.
Yep.
Yeah. There's nobody loses there. It's perfect.
I just got to put that sign out that says no guns.
Not so great
here.
for the neighbors, but yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Yeah, you just should have said if you just made your house a gun-free zone, they wouldn't even be able to bring the guns in there in the first place.
Right, that's the problem.
That's a good point. That would solve a lot of issues.
If it only worked like the magic spell they seem to believe it is.
Yeah, so where were we at on the story?
Yes, because unless.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. So back to the story about freaking New York teachers being disarmed. Yes, because unless someone is going to make the argument that teachers and staff represent the greatest threat to students, this bill makes no sense at all. If you wanted to make sure that schools and the children that attend them are absolutely the softest targets possible, and that these targets' rich zones are safe spaces for mass murderers, then this bill actually does make a lot of sense if that was their purpose. It may have been. And as absurd as that sounds, one Democrat assemblywoman actually did make that argument in a roundabout way by saying, arming teachers with guns can only lead to additional tragedies. I guess the tragedy is shooting a mass shooter before he kills your kids. What a tragedy. I can only assume she thinks teachers protecting their students is that tragedy. I
have noticed a very disturbing trend among the far left of being a lot more concerned with protecting criminals as opposed to the victims.
Yeah.
It can be observed even across the pond. British laws are insane. There's a lot more effort put into protecting a criminal in the process of mugging you than there is you getting mugged. You aren't allowed to defend yourself, and if you defend yourself excessively by some arbitrary metric, you go to jail too.
Well, the UK is known to be a totalitarian shithole, so I think those laws are intentional to get people used to just bending over to authority or anyone who has power over them.
It wasn't Oregon that the schools actually, to come up with a plan to arm teachers, they put little novelty baseball bats, like the small ones you get at a baseball game, put those into the classrooms in a locked case, so the teachers, in the case of a armed, active shooter, they could unlock this tiny little bat and use that tiny little bat to fight a guy with a gun.
Well, maybe if they throw it just right and hit him in the eye.
Maybe.
Hellraiser Zellon has a good point in the chat too. Like, why not just give combat vets like bodyguard duties at the school? Because there's a big problem with combat veterans is they come back, they're out of the military, can't find work, probably getting divorced, committing suicide. I mean, there's a lot of guys out there who we could simultaneously save them and have them save our kids.
A lot of vets, they feel like they lose their purpose in life when they leave the military, and that's one reason for the high suicide rate, as well as all the psychological issues they get from actual service.
Yeah, so why not give them a new purpose and just pay them to defend schools?
I say if a military, a vet, a retired vet, can pass a psych eval, then yeah, absolutely. I'd love to give them those jobs. There's currently a lot of retired police that would love to do the job as well. I'd do it. After I retire, I'd do it.
And this law was in response to many laws currently being passed in other states that expressly legalize school districts to authorize teachers and administrators to be armed. Trump has also spoken favorably about allowing teachers to carry. Driving home this point was Democrat State Senator Todd Kaminsky in his statement saying, while hundreds of districts across the country have decided to arm teachers in response to mass shootings in New York, we said, not here.
We're not going to protect our kids. You can protect yours, but not us.
That orange man wants to protect our kids. Clearly, this is the wrong move.
Well, if the orange man says our children being protected is bad, that must mean
we must kill them ourselves if necessary.
That means that protecting our kids must be racist and a Russian plot. Kill them! Not to be left out in showing everyone how smart he was, Cuomo made this big brain statement. The answer to gun violence, gun violence epidemic plaguing this country has never been and never will be more guns. And today we're expanding New York's national leading gun safety laws to further protect our children. Because it makes sense that the way we protect our children is by disarming the people who would protect them. Great job, Cuomo. I'm guessing that's why your state and your cities have such a low crime rate. Actually, that's not true. High gun restrictions isn't protecting your people, is it?
Well, one of the things I like to do whenever I get into an argument on Twitter is ask questions they know the answers to but don't want to admit. Like, for instance, if gun laws were such a great idea, then the states with the greatest restrictions on gun ownership should be the most peaceful places in the country,
But
right?
But they're not.
And this is especially painful to them whenever they try to show a chart of where all the gun violence is. Just ask them, there's a little hive marks of red incidents. What are the gun laws there? Anyhow, parents should be terrified to send their kids to any New York school or university. This bill has made them a massive target for the exact type of tragedy this bill is supposedly meant to stop. Only time will tell if this approach will be more effective than states doing the opposite. But sadly, the results of this seems pretty obvious to us, and we don't want to wait the tens of years and hundreds of bodies it will take to show how dangerous an idea this bill is.
Yeah, it's already... The concept's already been proven over and over again previously. We don't need to wait for it to be proven again. But again, these people in the Democratic Party are putting their emotion-based ideology rather than facts-based before the people that they're actually supposed to be taking care of. When asked for comment, Tom King of the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association said, "Whatever the legislation and the governor have done are not going to make the people in New York any safer. The only people who obey these laws are the lawful gun owners. Criminals, by definition, are lawbreakers." Oh my God. Yeah. What a revelation.
If you make it criminal to have a gun, only criminals are going to have guns. What a shock.
Yeah. Imagine that. Imagine my shark.
We should make it illegal for criminals to break the laws.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
That would solve all our problems.
Yeah, how about we just ban criminals?
Oh, why didn't I think of that? That's brilliant.
You realize, though, the advantage is now ours because since they only have feelings and they have no facts and logic, if their teachers no longer have guns, now they cannot stop Ben Shapiro from entering their schools and destroying them with facts and logic.
That was already the case, though.
Well, no. Instead, what they're going to do is they're going to call guys with guns to come in and stop Ben Shapiro from coming into the school.
He'll convince them not to stop him with his facts and his logic.
Yeah, that would work, yeah. But I also, that's the one thing I always kind of found funny, too, because they have no problems calling armed thugs to act on their behalf while they claim all that entire behavior is bad and wrong somehow. But whatever. Yeah, if they were capable of thinking rationally, then they wouldn't be this stupid. So
they're too focused on being, morally right than factually correct.
Yeah. Yeah. So now they're trying to warp this shit. They're like, oh, wait, well, but my reality is different than yours. So my facts are relative. No, you're just stupid. That's all it is.
Yep. By the way, for everyone who's watching,
I thought that the truth is subjective, which is itself a subjective concept.
For everyone who's watching right now, thank you very much for doing so. We are trying to get to 200 followers so we can get a more stream priority and also to be able to upload our own videos, our individually edited single topics videos. So please, if you are liking the content you're watching now, give us a follow. We very much would appreciate it.
Take us from being one centurion to 2 centurions. Then we'll be a little more unstoppable than we are now.
Exactly. All right, next story is going to be... it's Trump's fault for Elijah Cummings' house being robbed. Or is it Trump's fault for Elijah Cummings' house being robbed? Trump proved himself by far to be the funniest troll has ever earned public office in the United States. Trump this week following the outrage over calling Baltimore a rat and crime-infested place. He followed that tweet by saying, "Really bad news. The Baltimore house of Elijah Cummings was robbed. Too bad." Oh, that's so nice of him showing support for Elijah Cummings.
Such empathy.
Such empathy.
The left-wing media have spent the last week trying to downplay the objective and observable reality that Baltimore has a crime and rodent problem. Immediately, people responded on Twitter condemning Trump and blaming the robbery on him. They made the ridiculous argument that Trump pointing out Baltimore has high crime rates somehow led to someone trying to rob the New York House Representative Elijah Cummings' house.
The biggest problem with this theory is that the robbery happened hours before Trump's tweet. So how could the result of his tweet happen before the tweet happened? It'd be some sort of weird time paradox.
Russian bots from the future.
Must have been Russian bots. Absolutely. That was a short story. But they'll take everything Trump says and attack him for it, even if there's no sense to it.
Like, I wonder if we're ever going to get to a point broadly in culture where, like, you know, the boy who cried wolf with like racism, everything's racism. Do you think we're ever going to get to a point where like everyone generally understands that it's just words, it's just lies?
I think we're already pretty close to that, because I know I myself, whenever I hear someone say like rape or assault, harassment, death threats, or even pedophile. Yeah, I mean, I've been called a pedophile for watching anime. So do you think I take it seriously when I hear the word pedophile anymore? And it's not just me. To be honest, this is a good thing as far as I'm concerned, because the more people, we need people when they hear these words to, instead of responding emotionally and doing something stupid, we need them to actually ask questions like, oh, that's a pretty bold accusation. Do you have proof for that?
Yeah, I anytime I hear like racist or something along those lines, I don't. It means nothing until they actually provide some sort of evidence of something they've done or said wrong. Until then, it's just flapping lips.
Yeah, the words that pop into my head every time is citation needed.
Yeah, that's right.
Absolutely.
And I would like to think that most people demand this, but, well, there are clearly some NPCs out there who never question if their reaction was rational.
Well, there's things are going to change. The pendulum always swings back and forth, right? But this time when it swings back, it's going to hit them way harder than usual. And I kind of alluded to this a few times, but we're in a unique situation now where, thanks to the internet, the other side are so confident that they're going to remain in power forever. They're saying all of this hateful shit under their real names, because they're not the ones that are going to get fired for saying that. It's us that have to worry about getting doxxed. So when the pendulum swings back the other way, what usually happens is these people would then try to hide among the crowd again and pretend they never really believed that or whatever. Now we have them on the record under their real names saying exactly what they're going to try to do to us if they ever have the chance. So when the pendulum swings back, we know who all of these people are. So we're going to know exactly who we need to keep out of any industry, community, whatever that we build up.
I think that the Democrats have fractured their party so much, though they caused so much damage to their brand that they're not going to be electable for quite a while. That's another good thing too. As much as big tech is trying so goddamn hard to make it so there's not going to be another repeat of 2016, the single biggest advertisement for President Trump is the Democratic debates. Yep. And I mean, every time Trump, so people don't seem to acknowledge this very often, but Trump's not very conservative. He's a little bit conservative, but he's also he's more in the middle.
He was a Democrat until fairly recently.
In fact, most of his policies are like identical to Obama's, other than the few of the ones that really matter to me. But a lot of his policies are very identical to Obama's. So when he comes out and he's usually saying things that the Democrats themselves have once argued. He argues for the talking points the Democrats once believed in. And then the Democrats, because of Orange Man Bad, immediately respond with whatever he said is wrong and racist. And the people who actually are affected by those things, the community he's actually talking about, an example, Baltimore, he's saying Baltimore needs help, needs to be cleaned up, needs some, help with the crime and the rats. And the people in Baltimore are like, yeah, we are Democrats who've been calling for this and saying we need help for decades. And that's a Democrat position that the federal government should help in some way. And then, but because Trump said it, all the Democrats saying, no, that's not a real problem. That's just him being racist. And the people who are actually affected, the community in Baltimore, are like, wait, did the Democrats just abandon us? They just created more Trump voters.
Yup, that's going to be the funny thing. It's going to be just like I was watching. Was it the 2016 election? I was watching that live. I stayed up till like 2 a.m. till it was finally done on a work night. But when Pennsylvania flipped red, I was laughing so hard because I knew at that point it was over.
Yeah.
Yeah. When Pennsylvania flipped red, like now we're going to be seeing the same shit in like places like Baltimore. Yeah, we're going to be seeing traditional Democratic strongholds because of this whole orange man bad stuff you just talked about are going to realize, these guys are much more interested in just being contrarian than actually helping us. Maybe we should give the other side a chance. I mean, we've been doing nothing but voting for Democrats, and our situation has not improved in the slightest. Maybe we should try the other guys. Maybe they're not as bad as we're being told.
Strong border security and a path towards legal citizenship used to be a Democrat position held by the party. It was Obama's position. He deported 3 million people. He was the deporter in chief because he's like, we need to support the legal way of coming here. That is Trump's position, right? And they're opposed to it because it's Trump. But Republicans keep throwing back in their face, hey, hypocrites, you yourselves once said you were for the things that Trump is saying he's for. And a lot of Democrats who are affected in the communities are affected by high immigration of low skill, low education workers. They're Democrats who care about this problem. And they're voting for Trump, even though they used to vote Democrat. And there's a lot of Democrats who are anti-war in the same degree to which Trump is anti-war, though he's more of a war hawk than, say, some other Democrats. But he is someone who's trying to get our troops out of the Middle East, right? That was a position that Obama held, even though he didn't really hold himself to that standard very well.
Yeah, well, Obama at least got a peace prize, right? So that means something. Yeah. So he's in good company with the likes of Yasser Arafat,
Yeah, that was complete bullshit.
Well, yeah, that just proved. Now, actually, I've learned over the past maybe 6-7 years, all of these awards are political bullshit. Even like stuff, the Oscars, that's been obvious for a while. The Nobel Prize, although maybe the science one is still okay. I don't know. Then the Eisners, all this, just any award you can think of, especially if it's the industry patting themselves on the back. Yeah, it's going to be. It's stupid.
Shadow Wolf in chat says that Trump is a business Democrat. Yeah, that makes sense. He's a Democrat. Yeah. He always has been. He just because of the shift of the political spectrum, he is now conservative by in comparison to the other candidates on the Democrat side.
Yeah, it's actually we're living in a very weird era now where the far left has gone so far off the rails that moderate Democrats are now alt-right Nazis.
Right.
Well, aren't they even starting to attack Obama for not being far left enough?
That's the upcoming story. In fact, you guys want to do that one next?
Yeah.
It's on the topic, so might as well.
Yeah. We actually have a smooth transition for once. Yay.
Yeah. Yay. Yeah. Okay, number 6. So during Obama's 2 terms as president, the media and Democrat establishment had nothing but praise for everything Obama did. CNN made the claim that Obama had a scandal-free presidency, which was a testament to how the mainstream media remained willfully silent on the many scandals during that era. There was almost no coverage of his record level of deportations and separations of families at the border. There was almost no coverage of the extrajudicial executions of American citizens via drones in the Middle East. There was nothing about the waste of tax dollars on Solyndra and other companies like Solyndra. Nothing was said about the failure of nearly $1 billion on the Obamacare website that failed when it first opened. Nothing was said about Obama, how he lied about everyone could keep their plans and keep their doctors under Obamacare. That was a lie that he knew that wasn't the case with Obamacare, but he said it multiple times. Obama lied that his people and Obama lied and his people. He had his people lie about Benghazi, trying to cover up that he had choose to abandon 30 Americans and to leave them to die. And the only reason why they survived is because the soldiers on the ground disobeyed orders and went to save those 30 Americans anyways. And then Obama and military leaders at the time that were instructed by Obama in the State Department refused to send aid until much, much later, and because of that, there was a lot more casualties. And also, let's not forget that under Obama's watch, it was under Obama's watch, not Trump's, that Russia did attempt to disrupt our elections. That was during Obama's watch, not Trump's.
These are just a few of the scandals that the mainstream media ignored during Obama's tenure. Things like the Aaron Swartz incident and so much more. For the longest time, for Democrats, Obama was untouchable, but not anymore. During the second Democratic debates, the Democratic candidates took turns criticizing Obama for being conservative. This is not because Obama actually was a conservative. This is because the huge lurch to the radical left of the Democrat Party. Obama now only appears conservative compared to them.
Right. When you're compared to, like, socialists and communists, I guess you'd be conservative.
And, of course, the deranged cult leader lady.
Right. The Democrats attack Trump for everything he says and does. But the reality is that Trump isn't all that conservative. His policies are, in many ways, very similar to Obama's. Democrats are having to come to terms with their own double standard that keeps being thrown in their face. They attack Trump today for his strong stance on the border security, but they never said anything about Obama, who had the exact same policies. Obama deported again, 3 million illegal immigrants, far more than Trump has.
The Democrats decided to attack Obama. That they decided to attack Obama was a huge mistake. Obama was the first Democrat president to twice win a majority of the vote since FDR. Obama is very popular among Democrat voters, and he won a high number of moderates and independents. That's important because those are the votes that decide elections. It's the moderates that are turned away by the left-wing radicals like Ocasio-Cortez, or in my case, Williamson. Marianne, wow, she's scary.
She is.
Oh boy.
So, yeah, that's the big thing. So, Obama was able to win and win big because he brought in the moderates and a lot of the independents. But moderates, independents, and even just more conservative Democrats, they don't want to vote for communists. They don't want to vote for people who are willing to spend more money than our country makes by several factors on the Green New Deal, which admittedly was never about actually helping the environment, was more about destroying our economy on purpose.
Wait. So you're against turning the whole country into a utopia like Baltimore? Like, that is the Green New Deal in action right there, pretty much.
I think it would just collapse our economy and remove our military and completely destroy our country. But if you want to say make it like Baltimore, I guess it's a shorter way of saying it.
As an added bonus, it would also be anything but green, because it cannot possibly meet the energy demands of the country, meaning that it will force the country to go back to the filthiest means of powering it available.
Could just do nuclear. That'd be nice.
Clean. Yes, but the Green New Deal pointedly excludes nuclear, and that's why it's full of crap. Because nuclear could do the job. It's a solution, therefore it's a problem.
Right.
Well, especially fourth generation nuclear is supposed to be way more advanced, way safer, like to a ridiculous degree.
Yeah, so
yes.
Basically fourth gen nuclear is constructed in a way that is virtually impossible to melt down in the way that old reactors could. And the problem is, not only are we not building new reactors, because of the, let's be honest, mostly Democrats' fear-mongering, they've refused putting money towards taking our old reactors and upgrading them to the safer, newer versions. That's a big problem for me.
Well, that's because they're actually hoping one of them is going to have an accident sooner or later, just so they could campaign against it.
And the longer we don't take those old reactors and update them, the higher the chances this aging technology will have a problem, right? So if we were to invest relatively small amount of money compared to what they're talking about spending on other endeavors in our government, we could completely get rid of coal and replace it with nuclear, and that'd be far, far better for the environment than anything they've suggested.
Yeah. Well, I believe the new, like the Generation 4 reactors, I think they actually use like nuclear waste from older reactors as fuel. So
Yes.
it's so good for the environment, it actually erases pollution.
I think the stat was 80% of previous nuclear waste can be used as fuel. 80% of it.
Yes, the new methods are dramatically more efficient.
Yes. And reduces the waste that we've already created.
So if they're being sincere, I don't understand why they wouldn't be embracing that with both arms. It's like, well, you keep talking about this big problem. It's like, guess what? Here's a solution. Hooray!
Well,
Happy, right?
you answered your own question with your very first line. If they were being sincere.
Yeah.
Bingo. Not being sincere. There's the problem. Well, there's your problem. Oh, jeez. Want to go back to story 5?
Sure.
Alrighty, right. Cory Booker thinks the Democrat debates shouldn't involve any actual debate. We covered the highlights and the lowlights from the second Democrat debates on the last show. The debates included a lot of the Democrats' candidates attacking each other on their records and their policies. You know, exactly what you would expect from a political debate.
This led to the spectacular moment when Tulsi Gabbard straight up murdered the political chances of Kamala Harris. It also led to the New York mayor, Bill de Blasio, getting dogpiled by nearly everyone for not firing the police officer blamed for Eric Garner's death. These disputes and many others were not the only highlights of the debates. They are the purpose of the debates.
Right. The debates are the best time for candidates to distinguish themselves from the rest of the field and make a case for how their policies and record are better than the others. However, candidates like Cory Booker apparently don't think so. He told media sources that the debates shouldn't be used to pit Democrat candidates against each other, saying it gives President Trump an advantage.
He said, the person that's enjoying this debate most right now is Donald Trump, as we pit Democrats against each other while he's working right now to take away Americans' health care, Booker said on stage in Detroit.
Apparently, Cory Booker wants the Democrat debates to be all about attacking Trump and seeing who promises the most free stuff. If that were the case, voters would learn nothing about the policies of the candidates and what they support, and we would be left with nothing more than a popularity contest.
The very concept is basically a Saturday Night Live skit back when they could crack a joke. Candidate Williamson, what is your stance? Orange man bad, dark energy vampire. Candidate Harris, orange man bad, free healthcare.
You're too. It's so accurate. It's scary.
Candidate Gabbard, orange man bad, war bad.
Yeah. So.
Yang, orange man bad, free money.
Anyways, they don't want a real debate, I guess. I guess he doesn't want to be called out on his record. I guess he doesn't want to actually get asked what his policies are. But the problem is with Cory Booker, he doesn't have enough support that if he doesn't actually, if he doesn't attack the people above him, he doesn't have a chance. So what's he really trying to get?
He just wants to simplify things. It'd be so much easier to keep track of it if all he had to say was orange man bad.
The problem is the Democrats, they have a lot of things they stand against, which is basically anything Trump ever mentions they stand against. But they don't stand for anything other than giving away free stuff with no plan on how to pay for it. That's basically it. It looks like we are approaching the 2-hour mark, by the way. Y'all there?
Yeah.
Nope.
Quickly, RG, I'm sure most everyone here knows who you are, but please, everyone, check out the Raging Golden Eagle on YouTube. Do you have any other places you produce content?
Well, really just my Twitter page, but that's linked from my YouTube, but it's, I couldn't fit the whole name since they have a 15-character limit, so it's just Rage Golden Eagle on Twitter. And I don't have a blue check mark, so at least you know I'm not retarded. So at least there's that.
Yep.
Odds of quality go up, not down.
Hey, thank you, Daychrist, for the diamond, and also thank you for Yobama's here. Yoda. Okay, it's a Yoda Bama. Anyways, thank you very much for the follow. And also, David from Dreamkeepers, you want to show your content real quick?
Yeah, if you want to check out Dreamkeepers, just go to dreamkeeperscomic.com, or if it's not up your alley, check out our publishing company, vividpub.com, and we've got some other books and titles and comics that we publish. So thanks for having me on. This was a lot of fun.
I agree. I had a lot of fun myself. I agree with you. Also,
Likewise, I got to chew the script. It was lovely.
yes, thank you very much for being on Director Arcater. You guys probably already see him all the time on this channel, so obviously you know where to find him. But thank you very much, Director Arcater. I had fun with all you guys. Thank you for everyone who donated and followed us today. If you are still watching, you haven't followed us yet, and you like the content, we need only 5 more followers, and we'll have that golden 200 number that allows us to upload videos, which I would really like to have. Anyways, our next show should be on Wednesday, and we'll see you guys all then. We didn't quite get to the amount needed, but just as a reminder, we are going to be raffling off the 3D mouse pad. I think you guys probably saw earlier with the. It's very supportive of your wrist. It's a very good supportive mouse pad. It should be popping up here shortly if my computer loads a little faster. But that's what we're currently collecting raffles for, as well as the digital Dreamkeepers comic. And I guess the page is not loading. Why? Maybe try one more time. But you guys have any closing shots? There's the picture. That's what we're currently raffling off. Any closing shots, guys?
No, I think I had more than enough hot takes earlier on.
Yeah, you got a lot of them.
Yeah. I guess everyone, thanks for listening and have a delightful night.
All right. Direwolf.
So long as progress continues, success is inevitable.
Exactly.
See y'all later.
Out. Boobs.